Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today, what we wanted to talk about is extending Allbound. We'll get into what that means, but here in a minute with some detail, but just in general, it means that Allbound does a lot of great things and we'd like it to maybe do some more. Let's go into how we can get some of those other things done. So who are we? Hi, I'm Kyle Burnett. I was the co-founder of Allbound, former CTO. Built the first version in 2011, grew the company quite a bit with the team there, growing it the product team, sales engineering team, customer facing team, and then now work, kind of as one of their key partners and work with customers such as yourself who have got Allbound as part of their channel tech stack and help build on it and extend on it. And then joining me today is Becca. Hi, Becca.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm a senior project manager at Little Taller, and I've led the team on dozens of Allbound projects, so definitely my area.
Dozens. I guess you could divide a couple of hundred by 12 and still come up with dozens. It's a
Yeah.
lot. And we've
Yes.
built a lot of things and seen a lot of customers. So our team today, about 35 or so on the team, we're very heavy in design and development, specifically on the engineering side. We work with enterprises of all sizes, but we do wind up, thankfully, with our relationship with Allbound and our place within the channel. We work with a lot of really large really large enterprises, such as these right here, working on a variety of systems. So, Becca, on those dozens of projects that you've been part of and led, where do we and our team spend most of our time?
Well, obviously in Allbound, but then also in the customer CRM as well. So like Salesforce, HubSpot, Dynamics, NetSuite, you name it, we've been there.
Yeah, so mostly on the CRM side, a little bit into ERP, occasionally other systems, some business intelligence platforms, little marketing automation, LMS. We run into those frequently, sometimes support systems, and sometimes even homegrown data sources. But predominantly, yeah, we spend a lot of time, as you said, inside the CRM and the PRM. So when it comes to Allbound, and you guys are probably pretty familiar with it, that platform, we built it to be kind of similar to what you expect out of other platforms such as your CRM, is that you'd like it to be a bit extendable. So it has features, the kind of feature set that it already has. Some of those are customizable. You can change them, alter them, but then sometimes you just want to do other things a bit extra. There's about kind of three different ways that we go about doing that we've seen over time. So single sign-on, I think you guys are probably all familiar with that. You probably have that internal to your organization where you have to use something like Okta to log into your kind of into the mothership to get into CRM, into LMS, into some other systems. That is in play here. We see that frequently. Integrations. So a lot of times we get the ask to do something that's just purely an integration between Allbound and something else, maybe a third-party bed like a Tipalti or some form of business intelligence data. And then the third, which is where we spend the most of our time, right, Becca, is on the embedded app side. So the embedded app side, Becca, I kind of gave away the answer of the question I was going to ask you, but the split up of time, what's the percentage? How much are we spending over there building apps for customers?
Oh man, like probably close to 75%. We spend a lot of our time there, but I will say embedded apps a lot of times require integrations as well. So they're kind of hand in hand.
They really are. Yeah, we don't really see too many that are just a pure play integration. Power BI is one. You're just kind of embedding it, or maybe like a Zendesk, you're just sort of dropping a widget in place. So it's not super complex. You're right that most of the apps that we have to build, we build them because we need to get data from disparate sources, transform it, do something with it, make it interactive, share it, move it back into other systems. So, that integration is tightly tied to that. So when it comes to looking at Allbound, much like all the other systems, when it comes to integrating, or more specifically building apps onto the framework, there's kind of three key areas that we focus. And I point these out, they may seem a little bit technical and wonky, but I point them out because they're important. It's where we spend, as you'll see in a minute when we talk about process, it's where we spend time in the design and development phase to deliver what we know we need. So it starts with authentication. So knowing that what we're building, whether that's two systems talking, whether that's embed into Allbound, knowing that it's secure, knowing that the right users have access to the right data, right feature sets at the right time. So we always start with authentication, understanding our users, defining what they need, and knowing that it's secure. Second, as Becca mentioned, data from disparate systems integration. So even if we're building it custom, it's like, or if it's a productized custom development that we've done dozens of times, it's still data. Where is it coming from securely? And then lastly is kind of the custom CSS JavaScript side of things, which is the interface. So you might be familiar with different versions of this based off of projects you've worked on in the past, but that's kind of where we spend our time in development of apps onto Allbound. So Becca, of the dozens and dozens, I think we've built, gosh, we've worked with hundreds of customers, but of the hundreds of customers we've worked with, the commonality that we run into, if we were extracting that to the three broadest categories, what does that look like?
It would be marketing, sales, and customer success.
So we kind of work with the three departments almost of within our organizations, especially in the channel, right? I mean, inside the channel, all three of those departments have something they're trying to accomplish with partners.
Oh, absolutely.
Who do we spend most of our time with, though? If we're just being honest here, where are we spending most of our time, role wise and department wise?
Sales tips the scale for sure.
They do. But then marketing feeds sales, and then sales feeds customer success. But yeah, it's probably like just the dynamics inside of your organization that is sales, everything kind of leads there. So yeah, the three kind of buckets that we go into. So Becca, let's talk about marketing first. The pain points that we tend to see marketers have when it comes to working with their partners and specifically around PRM and their tech stack. What does that look like?
So the first is reach. So the reach of their marketing message and then trying to get that out to a broader marketplace directly through partnership. And the problem that tends to come from that is consistency. The more people that you hand things to, the more it's out of your control and the more likely they're going to take liberties with your brand. And then attribution. If we can't track the source of the lead or the source of the revenue, then we don't know as marketers if what we did was successful.
Yep, well said. That's pretty much the life cycle of marketing, and that's direct or indirect. It's just definitely exacerbated by being indirect with partners. So the solutions that we've worked to over time, if we were to then kind of again organize those back up, we've done lots of independent solutions to solve for those pain points, but probably the two is to think that most of these features we've kind of bundled up into a campaign center that we'll give you a quick glimpse of, and then Referral Tracker tends to be back at the most standalone feature that of this, the pain points that people are asking for is attribution almost over anything.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but even attribution by itself is kind of tricky. So let's take a quick look inside of Allbound here. So while this pulls up, what we're looking at, and we'll look at as soon as it loads up here on our screen. My connection may not be the fastest thing today. There we go. Hope I haven't been too choppy too, Becca.
No, it's good.
Okay. So this is Cloud Rocket. This is our demo instance of Allbound, and Cloud Rocket is analogous to your enterprise. This probably looks somewhat like, your Allbound portal. I have a little bit less, things populated here on the front end, but it's probably something that you're kind of familiar seeing. A lot of the features and the navigation are things you're probably familiar seeing. Quite a few maybe you're not, in terms of the leaderboards or campaign centers or what have you inside of here. So back to what we said a few minutes ago about embedding into Allbound. Obviously, Allbound has in here SSO connections. So it's got some of that kind of capability out of the box. In advanced settings, they also have the customized JavaScript and CSS that we mentioned. So if you're trying to get the single sign-on working, they've got that there and we can help you with it. If you're trying to build something and modify the interface, you can do that here if you're a developer. We kind of have that. All developers would look at that and go, sounds good, I can probably get going. But the more complex version is, other than you just sort of changing some colors, icons, moving a few things around, is we want to build a full application. So what we've done is we've built out the app marketplace. And if I pull up our app marketplace, what you'll see that we've done inside of here, exactly what we just said we did, was we've taken dozens of applications that we've built over time, lots of them inside of here, and we've started trying to productize those, take the commonality that we've heard from our customers, take some of the best practices, bring them together, get them to a spot that it's a configurable, mostly plug and play, but largely configurable, scalable solution for what you're looking for. We do have that broken up, obviously, into marketing apps, sales apps, customer success apps, which we'll dig into in a minute. And lastly, some Allbound utilities that just make things inside of Allbound work a little bit better or be a little bit more interesting to there. But since we're talking about Campaign Center, let's go ahead and start there. So the Campaign Center, what we've done is we've taken over time a variety of independent features. So we've been asked, for example, to build a co-branded HTML email module. We did that. We've been asked to put together a system to help share social posts or landing pages or referral tracking attribution. Well, what we've done is taken all of those and then kind of bundle them up into one nice little campaign center. We will, in a subsequent recording and also live sessions, go deep into the campaign center. But what you want to know is that you as the admin get to establish a campaign. It's all about landing pages. You're self-hosted or you share those back with partners. It is about getting your partners co-branded emails that drive traffic that they could use, drive traffic to those landing pages, social posts that could drive traffic back to landing pages. And lastly, that it's all embedded UTM embedded links, UTM-empowered links, UTM-powered links. I'll get it right in a minute. UTM-powered links that actually help you adjust the system you can use, and you adjust it to fit the way that you use your UTM links inside of your in marketing automation system. But we do get the attribution in there for the partners and individual partner reps who are taking, and then Becca, like you said, taking your branded content that you're sharing with the partners so that you can control the brand and control the message, getting that audience to go wider, giving it to them to help them share it out. And then third of all, that attribution, all of it points back to attribution. So ultimately what's really happening is inside of this is that they're driving marketing efforts that's driving their pipeline that's integrated with your CRM already. And so it doesn't really matter which direction it comes from. We can get that to feed into here to CRM, to your marketing automation, to CRM back to here, to CRM back to here. Either way, we can get that loop closed and get that attribution in place by sharing with partners, landing pages, content to market them, and then make sure it's all empowered, embedded, and linked up for tracking to close that loop for everybody having visibility of what those efforts are doing and how they're paying off. All right, let's hop on back over here past the campaign center. And then the second area in which we've kind of moved a lot of our features and organized them is sales, where we spend a great deal of our time, Becca. So Becca, the pain points, the commonality that we hear amongst the sales leaders from our customers, what does that look like?
So the first one is sales planning. So oftentimes the channel may have a sales number they're trying to get to, but it's not clear visually inside the portal or broken up by partner tiers or specific partners. So whatever the sales team is trying to do over the course of a fiscal year or whatever their desired time frame is, it's not visually defined or established to the partner to understand what the sales expectation is. So once we have that more visual, we work with them to align the process and a lot of times simplify that process. Like for example, CRM can be more complex with like stages. We end up simplifying stages down. And then also quoting process. We're also trying to get partners to be more self-sufficient, and a great way is by letting them quote their own sales.
Well said. And so it is a kind of a complete life cycle problem. And often the planning tends to be about expectation setting. Like you said, we work with a lot of sort of sales dashboards that are very specific for partners, or maybe starting that back up, it's the overall company goal, partner manager goals, partner goals, goals inside that organization. The process alignment, oh man, we spend a lot of time there because we, as you guys, our customers, tend to have complex sales processes that we want to keep simplified for the partners, like you said. But ultimately, it tends to lead to quoting and then even orders, just straight up order processing. And then that all of those oftentimes seems like something that is just an insurmountable challenge. I mean, Becca, we hear that all the time from people. They don't think that what they do internally, you can get partners involved.
Yep.
All the time. And it almost always winds up being do less, simplification. You don't need them to do all of the steps to be engaged and just move things along. So we've taken those solutions, and aside from kind of the consultative approach that we have in coaching, some things that we've seen be successful there, we've taken those features, bundled those up into the sales center. They can, of course, be broken out. But then, Becca, where we more often than not see any standalone work is CPQ and orders, that we need to be able to get a system together, the CPQ that ties into CRM place, and then ultimately to order placing. All right, so what does that look like over inside of Allbound? Let's take a look. And we will, in another session, go very deep into that because it digs deep into the pipeline and into workflows and other systems. There's a bunch of charts and graphs we want to show you, data workflows. So we'll dig in that to another system on another call. But again, oops, I went to the integration manager, not to our system. I'm so used to just hopping into the admin tool. I'm like, I just choose random things. Okay, so back to our marketplace. So in a marketplace, again, sales tools, we have a variety of them in here for you to see, but ultimately the account center, the sales center is ultimately where we need to be. So inside of there, the types of features that we've developed over time that are very customizable, extendable, tends to be pre-sales tools. So things like interactive calculators and interactive battle cards. Becca, we do those quite frequently that we just reps need to be able to figure out the fastest way to understand what they're selling competitively against, sell against, to figure out what a cost might be to help just move a prospect along.
Yep.
Yeah, that's almost pre-sales, because those things do tend to happen before you really even get into the pipeline to get a prospect who's interested, move through procedurally. How much time do you figure, Becca, that we spend with customers on really customizing the pipeline to their workflow needs versus CPQ?
It's a little hand in hand, but I'd say probably more time on customizing the pipeline, and then CPQ is kind of up to them to customize, configure.
Yeah, it's trying to get your processes down. And it's kind of by design that you spend a lot of time on the pipeline to know that the processes are easy, and partners will be engaged. We'll let you know about sales ahead of time. But like we mentioned too, we'll actually know what the goals are that you have for them, so that we'll get engaged. But then this is more about liberating them. It is about setting them free. It is about eliminating overhead and complexity and man hours that's often comes from partners emailing a sales rep or a channel manager with scant details about needing a quote, and then that puts the job in your team's hand to go create quotes in the CRM, to then export them and then hand them back to the partner, and you lose visibility. And so doing that inside of Allbound, getting that as part of your sales pipeline, that partners actually can go in, have a streamlined process that points to the numbers you have for them, getting them to place those quotes and be self-sufficient there, is a huge win. And you can go deep into that, leading all the way up to orders. And so, Becca, we've seen orders be part of CPQ, that CPQ exists up until a certain point, and then there's an approval and an order process.
Yes. We've also seen it the other way too, with just orders as well.
What does that look like?
So that, I mean, is essentially still CPQ. I mean, you're still selecting your product, but you're just placing it for order directly without approval.
And we've seen that for both partners and also end customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just getting the end customer to approve it. We actually have somebody that does it one way, which is partners create the quotes to notify the end users who come in to approve the order. We've seen it just CPQ. We've seen it CPQ to the CRM and let that trigger other processes. And we've also had just flat out orders of somebody coming in, just configuring what they need, possibly with an interactive calculator even, to get to an order. And we've seen those of all shapes and sizes, Becca, like customers with 2 products to choose from.
Yep. All the way up to thousands.
Yes. Yeah, but even the thousands is not the most complex. I think the most complex ones tend to be the like bundles, if this and this, maybe this, choose this. Those get really, that can be sometimes a bit hairy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but ultimately, I mean, the commonality I think that we see too in this is that almost always we start working with an organization, what we hear is, well, we're in the middle of cleaning this up.
I hear that on most of them, I feel like.
But it's a perfect time to do it, right? Like you're already in here analyzing it, and you're going to add something on. So it's the perfect time to clean house. I mean, plenty of house cleaning analogies we could dig into, but it is the perfect time to do that and simplify that down. Oftentimes we just inadvertently become part of that cleaning process. But ultimately, all of this does lead to commissions, because that's the point of the sales utilities here. If you're setting a goal that you want your partners to get to, and you're making the process easy for them to interact with you, making it easy for them to place, to get to quotes, to place orders, what are they getting out of it? They're getting commissions. So oftentimes we do see that the system is built off pipeline to incentives to payments. That's Allbound, and that's a super strength, is actually building out pipeline to incentivize your partners and ultimately pay them. So you can build that into there, and there's great functionality in there. You can make it better still by actually putting numbers on top of it for goals and targets as well. But then, Becca, I think sometimes on that sales center, we also see payments and incentives and things that we have to dig into there, where Allbound doesn't necessarily fit, or customers already have another tool and they need to bring that data in, display it, or interact with other systems. So we spend a great deal of time in commissions too, mostly sometimes in generation. We have we have several projects where we've built the systems that help manage the generation of ongoing commissions based off of business transactions. Oftentimes it's just display too.
Yeah.
It's been a variety. Well, we could go on and on about the sales center, and we will in another call. Let me get back over here to this. Okay. So then, Becca, a marketing leading to sales, leading to customer success, as it works inside the organization, same holds true for us with our technology and the tools and solutions we've built. What's customer success running into pain point wise with their channel?
So the first one is post-sales implementation. So let's say your partners are helping you sell some software that needs to be configured. There's a process on who owns that relationship post-sale to see the user get in, get onboarded, and then get implemented. So providing visibility into the post-sales implementation to the supplier from the partner or the partner from the supplier, it can be both ways. That definitely helps. And then what did they buy and what did they need access to that's locked away? So like, for example, Accruent, they needed to get keys and licenses in front of their partners to get in front of their customers. So that's one example of where we helped there. And then there's also support visibility. So what does ongoing support look like, and how do you get your customers and partners visibility into that as well?
Well said. And it is, I mean, that's a very comprehensive summary of this is what we tend to run into. And sometimes it's made even worse if you have distribution involved, which we did not mention in the sales process, but we run into distribution over there in the sales process all the time too. So it becomes multi-tiered, multifaceted, and a little bit more complex. But the visibility to this, I think, back to the pain points that we see oftentimes is that if these do exist, if processes do exist for that, or that data does exist, it lives in the CRM. So unless you're using Salesforce communities, paying for all of those licenses, and then also having your partners use that system, it's not interactive. It's not interactive engagement with your partners and supporting your customers.
Yep.
And that's cost, that's time. That's also a problem too. And but it's the visibility from both sides, because it's your customers you're trying to get visibility into their own support utilities. It's your partners that can maybe help with that, who owns the relationship. But that's an interesting one that we run into a lot. And this tends to just be about efficiency. So while we spend the majority of our time in sales, because organizations like to put their money into sales, and that's where they tend to invest their time and energy, the CS component is incredibly crucial. And probably the big pain point that you solve for is wasted time and lack of visibility into customer happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Solutions we've built around that. The account center, of course, we've bundled it up. We have a lot of variety of features, but it tends to get bundled up into the account center. And we oftentimes just straight up see cases as a standalone.
A lot of times, yeah.
Let's take a look. Yeah, let's take a look at that. How's my connection, by the way? We getting a little spotty?
A little bit, but can still hear you. So
let's find out. If I see the video jumping, I know what that usually means. And right now would be when it would decide to get a little sluggish.
there we go.
Okay, so back on over into our system here, back on over into App Marketplace. And like we said on the other as well, we've got lots of apps installed in here for ongoing customer success, things like forums and other data dashboards. But Account Center is the big one that we tend to run off of on customer success. Works great for sales too, because what it is, imagine all of the data that you probably have in your CRM that nobody has, your partners don't have access to. Like we mentioned, Salesforce communities. That's what this is. This is the snapshot, the visibility, the interactive visibility that your partners get into the accounts and contacts that they co-manage with you. Data tends to live in your CRM today. Those opportunities, yeah, you probably have some of that involved in your pipeline, which, Becca, we see opportunities in pipeline, which is pretty straightforward on referrals or even resellers, but also we see other types too, like renewals.
Yes, we do.
Upsells, add-ons.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that tends to be sometimes just put into the sales pipeline, but it's definitely nice and organized when you have an account level view for your partners where they see account level data, account level opportunities, pending renewals. Because a lot of times, Becca, those renewals get generated in Salesforce automatically based on a calendar and programmatic scripts like we'd want to have to say they signed on the 31st of this year, set up the automatic renewal creation 90 days out and trigger notification 90 days next year, and make sure the partner's knowing this because the partner manages the relationship, make sure they're staying on top of it. Implementation management, you mentioned that. Same thing inside of this is knowing what project management looks like post-implementation, licenses, renewals, any object that you've got inside of your Salesforce that you need to display over here. We've got it. We can configure for it, get it, display it, make it super straightforward, make it visible. And then lastly, the support ticket integration is the big one. That's a lot of fun because sometimes you just need your partners to submit a ticket. And then they maybe just reply via email from that point. So maybe they go to the portal to submit a ticket and then they just interact via email. Works great for a singular ticket for themselves. But if you want to get visibility, ongoing visibility into all tickets within the accounts that they co-manage with you, for them or the end users to be in there, this does that. It's like Salesforce Communities, kind of works just like Salesforce Communities. Get the tickets visible, get people interacting on them, comments and notes. Very flexible, lots of things that we can do around this, but it is customized to your need, your data sets, and your partner experience in supporting your customers. So Becca, our magic recipe for success, since we've done worked with hundreds of enterprises, what have we learned and standardized over time?
So we've standardized them into these phases. So first one is discovery, which we spend a lot of time in the discovery phase, really looking into the details and just getting an understanding of what you need. And then that leads to an in-depth conversation on the requirements, so we can build documentation based off of them, and then later build and test off of them as well. So once we have that documentation, we hand that off to the team so they can account for any and all configurations and customizations. And then during that phase, this is also when we provide you with testing steps, all necessary links and resources needed to prove that we met those the requirements on the documentation, sorry. And then from there, once we have sign off on that, we push that to your production environment, and then we help support post-launch as well.
Methodical. Yep. And underscore definitely that discovery and documentation. We don't know everything we know. It's a bit iterative by design, to fine tune, dig in. And then sometimes it does things that we discover with you for your channel, impacts what you're doing today and requires some other changes. So that's real important. And that becomes living and breathing too, because in the support phase, when you have other changes, the first thing we do is pull back up documentation and say, what did we do? And how is it configured and why? So very important to run through that phase and know exactly what we're delivering to why, and keep that alive for the long haul.
Yep, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
Not real. Investment on projects like this tend to be 4 to 6 hours of process review, a couple of hours of system support, and probably the most of your time is spent on the testing. So meeting with us, working with us on defining processes, but specifically testing. Complex, the more hours on that, less complex, the less hours on that, but that's a pretty healthy little average. So we try to keep it somewhat light on you and let us, own the lifting, to set you up for success. The budget, scalable to your needs. The more deep you need them to go, the more we can scale it for you, but we definitely try to keep it lean, get it done quickly, get it done efficiently, keep the process simple, keep your investment of time and money to a minimum. What does next steps look like? Well, you can hit the QR code there, or there's my information right there. This will kind of direct you to this. Hit me up, reach out there, my email. There's my Calendly, feel free to book some time. Would love to hear what you've got, what you're going through, the pains that you've seen, how some of this might work for you and might help. And just love to help in any way that we possibly could. Becca, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody, hope to hear from you soon. Be well.